Hi, my name is Jessica, and I am what's known as a medical human zebra. I'm talking to everybody today because I've been in hiding for several years, and sorry, this is going to be an unedited video on YouTube, one of my first ones, but I know that I have a story to tell, and it needs to get out there in reference to people that suffer with chronic pain, chronic illnesses, 1% diseases, also medical marijuana use. I'm from Florida, and I've tried to move, and I have some issues trying to move because of doctors and all kinds of things. But I'm going to talk about everything, and I'm going to I used to be a clothing designer in Florida. This used to be my company and me modeling for my company. I used to make amazing things like for Macho Man, Randy Savage, and the Slim Jim ads, and the outfits that Gorgeous George wore. And I was a Hooters girl. I used to make I actually model on the calendars. I used to make the swimwear for some of their shoots for different places in Florida and a lot of famous people. And a lot of things that people wear today were inspired by my designs. But about 8 years ago, I got injured and became very ill. And it's been a battle, struggle ever since. I lost my careers, and I have been trying to find a purpose ever since. For years, I just was in hiding because I was embarrassed by this, and I'm going to try to get this video without crying on everybody. But it's been a very huge source of pain for me. And as I've got out, started advocating and researching more, meeting people, and trying to promote my cause, which I'm promoting a website called humanzebras.org. That's my foundation that I'm starting for people who suffer in chronic pain and illnesses, and to get them out there, get heard, to raise money awareness. A lot of people don't realize that when you have a 1% disease, that there's no funding for it, there's no research for it. You have to come up with the research money on your own, and that's where organizations are born. And I'm extremely passionate about this because I have a family history of chronic pain, people disabled at a very young age. I was disabled at 35. I'm now 43. And it's been a humiliating, dehumanizing experience for me, especially going through pain management. Can't even go there, I'll cry. But the entire situation has just been something that needs to be talked about. We need to change our medical system. We need to change people's minds about people in pain, about the medications they're allowed to use, how we have access to them, and just a lot of things. So being a designer and clothing designer, I used to be powder maker. I did everything from head to toe, from have a store to manufacturing to shipping out, things like that. And I did a lot of work. I was always active. I was a president of a homeowners association. I was on the neighborhood watch. I actually, have an award for helping with the police department. And I had to change my views dramatically over pain medications, medical marijuana, something I'm actually in the news for. If you look up Palm Harbor Woman Once Against Medical Marijuana, and I'll try to add a link later if I can. But I was someone, if you even thought about smoking drugs or doing things like that, I was walking away from you. I wouldn't date you or anything. I was that against it. And this entire process of being sick all the time, having a disease that is something you can't see, when you look at me, you think, oh my gosh, she's fine. And the surface, I fake it a lot. There's a saying that, people with chronic illnesses are, faking being sick. They're faking being happy and being normal. And it's true. Every day I wake up is a struggle. I wake up sometimes 2 a.m., 4 a.m., different times, and I wake up pain every day. And I cry most of the days because the pain is not only unbearable, it's exhausting. I suffer from several conditions, and some of you can relate, some of you can't. Ehlers-Danlos, chronic CRPS is my main diagnosis, probably caused from the Ehlers-Danlos, and an injury that I received by a chiropractor 8 years ago. I have PEM, allodynia, CFS. My leg is paralyzed on the right side. I have degenerative disc disease, fibromyalgia, PTSD, and radiculopathy. I have drop foot in my right leg, and a list of chronic illnesses, potential rheumatoid arthritis. I have osteoarthritis. It just keeps adding up. And when I was 34, I was completely healthy for the most part. I started having some problems. I was going to a doctor, a rheumatologist, because I was having some aching. It seemed to be cyclical, coming, every September, around that time. and I would get bone aches, a little bit of burning on my elbows, my feet. I'd wake up from that, and they never found anything. My tests were negative for RA, so they just did fibromyalgia, which at that time fibromyalgia was not. It was like this spoof disorder where you just get thrown into the soup kitchen of ideas, and boo, there you go, that's what you have. But nobody knew how to treat it. Nobody knew really what it was. And for years I struggled with, okay, if this is fibromyalgia, it doesn't feel like fibromyalgia. It feels like something else is going on. But that's all I could live with was that diagnosis. And I started taking, at that time, I wasn't taking anything for it. I was just trying to deal with it. But as time went on, I went to see a chiropractor. I'm a licensed hairdresser also. So I did hair on the side, and I used to do styling for magazines, things like that. And I was doing hair one day, and I had a really bad pain in my right hip. So I went to a chiropractor, a friend of mine known, actually his girlfriend is a model in my catalog, and they didn't take x-rays, they didn't take MRIs, and because of that I am paralyzed on my right side for the rest of my life. I have chronic pain, it's called a CRPS. I have sensitivity to touch, so my husband will just try to touch my face or touch my hand, anything, and I just want to smack his hands away because it hurts so bad. I'll sleep at night, and just the sheets touching my knees are excruciating pain for me. Sorry, my hair's like really screwed up. So I have achingness all the time. I get flu-like symptoms. I feel like I have this thing called malaise where I can't even lift up a glass to drink out of. It feels so heavy. It always feels like I've got weights on my arms, weights on my legs. And it's just an overwhelming, exhausting diseases to have, and to not have any real answers about why or how to treat it, because every one of the diseases I have is a 1% disorder and disease. And they truly are just like, sorry, we can't help you. There's no research, no funding, no medicines, or nothing. What we're giving you is all there is. Right now I'm looking into ketamine infusions because that's my last hope. I currently take medical marijuana and Oxycontin and Lorazone and Lyrica. And those are some of the strongest medications you can take. I've been on them for about 8 years now. Medical marijuana is recent because it just recently got approved. And medical marijuana is actually what gave my life back to me. It gave me it took away some of the depression I was having. I was exhausted all the time, so it gave me energy. So I was using sativa strains and hybrids for pain, and indica hybrids, and Sunset Sherbet's one of my favorite strains that I use for energy and making me feel good. And it truly changed my life about 2.5 years ago. I never wanted to do anything anymore. I didn't want to go out in public anymore. And it gave me the ability to go out, to be able to start walking. It loosened up my joints. I used to be a dancer. I love to dance. And I was so upset that I couldn't dance anymore. And with marijuana, I was able to put music on, focus on the music, and I just could dance and do my thing, stuff that I could never do before. Now I can only do it for short periods of time because it starts aggravating my nerves because I have nerve damage in my spinal cord, and starts making the pain worse. But I'm in pain all the time, so I'd rather be dancing and having fun for a little while. I was able to lose weight doing that. I lost 50 pounds in 3 months because I was getting really heavy from not being able to walk anymore, because I'm supposed to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. I have an electric wheelchair, and I was in it for a couple days, and I couldn't do it. Because of that, it gave me like agoraphobia. I didn't want to go anywhere anymore. I didn't want anybody to see me anymore, because I used to be this person who had a clothing company, and I was on TV shows and I was on radio shows, and a lot of people knew me as Just K Clothing, and they'd always call me Just K, designing for Macho Man, all these different people, and it ripped my life away when I went to that chiropractor and they ruptured my disc. And my 2 days, I went on a Friday, and 2 days later I was paralyzed on a Sunday. And we did back surgery, emergency back surgery. They said it was my only hope to get my drop foot back, and the back surgery made everything worse. From that day on, when I had back surgery, my right leg hurt so bad, and I would cry all the time. Me being a strong-willed person, wanted to get back to work right away. So I went back to work like a month after back surgery, and I was in so much pain, I couldn't work. I would lean on the tables and cry. And I was taking pain pills, and they wanted me off the pain pills, but I couldn't get off the pain pills because I couldn't function unless I took one because I was in so much pain. And everybody back then thought, she's just seeking drugs, I guess, because that's when the big stigma was going on about pain pills and everything. And it was so hard to make anybody understand this is not a joke. I literally would cry in the middle of CVS pharmacy. I would break down tears anywhere because people were not believing me. Doctors were not believing me. They were looking at me as if, is she drug seeking? Is she not drug seeking? You know, what's going on? And it really broke my spirit as a person. And I finally got a pharmacist who listened to me, who spoke to my doctor and realized, yes, there is problems. But I still really never had a true diagnosis of what was going on with me. They didn't understand why I was paralyzed forever. They didn't understand why I was having so much neuropathy pain. 3, 4, 5 years later, I was stuck in pain management. And, you know, that process is just go in, get a prescription, here you go. You tell them that things are getting worse or this is happening, and they're just like, here you go, here's a prescription. And because they got so many people to treat. And I did injections, I did all kinds of things. Massage, acupuncture, I did it all trying to help. And like I said, medical marijuana was the thing that kind of changed for me because it loosens up my joints and gives me some life back. But it doesn't give everything back, and it doesn't stop all my pain. And for that, I'm still in the search. That's why I'm looking into ketamine. But in my search, I've met a lot of people through RSD. It's rsds.org Foundation. They're the RSD/Chronic Regional Pain Syndrome, CRPS Foundation. And a lot of people need to go there and watch Dr. Getson's videos, YouTube him. He has amazing videos describing fibromyalgia, how it's being misdiagnosed, and that it's probably lumped in the CRPS. Sorry, I keep playing with my hair because I lost half my hair 2 years ago because of my illnesses. I used to have really long, beautiful, thick hair. It was thin, but thicker. And literally this entire side fell out, so I'm a little bit traumatized by that. But so I was diagnosed with PTSD a couple years ago, about 5 years ago, because I started having huge memory issues. I thought the medications were causing it. I didn't know what was causing, but I felt I was going nuts. I literally thought I was having Alzheimer's. So I had to go to a neuropsychologist and tested me and said I had PTSD, and that the PTSD was, I'm reliving all these injuries in this moment, and it's keeping me from making new memories. So that's where the memory loss is coming in, because I could be doing something during the day and remembering it as I'm going along, but tomorrow I may not remember all of it and block out certain things because of PTSD, things that trigger whatever it is. So I suffer from memory loss as well. How I function, sometimes I don't know. I tell my husband every day it is a struggle to want to survive this life. Everybody is aware that I think about suicide. I struggle with those thoughts because it puts you in a very dark place when you're this ill. And that's why they have support groups. They have online groups that you guys, if anybody's struggling with those thoughts, can go to, and you guys can talk and be open, and people will be there for you and support you through the internet if you need phone calls, whatever. But it's a resource for you. I'd rather you guys know that so that you guys can go out there and have someone to talk to, because I didn't have anybody to talk to for a while, and I was having to hide those facts because I know what happens, called Baker acting, and I don't feel like being Baker acted because I'm being honest about how I feel. But it was the only way I could truly get doctors to understand my pain. Say, listen, I feel like killing myself because I can't take this pain anymore. It's like I have tasing pains throughout my spine. I have aching pains. I have flu-like pains. I have such bad joint pain that my knees feel like I'm walking on glass. To move a joint, sometimes I can't lift my arms in the morning. I can't lift my leg anymore because it's paralyzed. And then worse than it, 2 years ago, my paralysis, this numbness has spread throughout my body, my lower half, upper middle half, my hands are numb. And it's extremely hard to be a functioning person in this society, and I was not functioning. I was Netflixing out my life. I would just lay on the couch and watch Netflix because doctors were saying, we've done everything, there's nothing else you can do, all you can do now is just try to rest and hopefully the nerves heal themselves. Like I said, a couple years ago, recently I was misdiagnosed with, underdiagnosed, they said, with chronic regional pain syndrome. And when I got that diagnosis, it was a light went off. And when I talked to people that had that diagnosis, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm suffering in. It's basically all these random, seem like phantom symptoms, but to us are real. Like the sensitivity to touch, the feeling like ants are on you, the just hypersensitivity to nerves. I can't get my toenails done anymore. Slightly touching my face sometimes hurts me. Just random things like that come and go. And then all the time my back is hurting all the time. Storms, oh my God. Not only am I a human barometer, but I can't take it. The storms kill me for sure. And it is the hardest thing for some of these conditions. So wake up every day, put on my makeup, and try to have a smile on my face. And makeup, that's a huge thing. Doctors, if you go to a doctor with makeup on, you appear like you're doing fine, honey. No, that's not the case. This is my war paint. Doctors, you need to pay attention to that, because people that come in there trying to be dressed up or nice, it's not that they're doing better. It's actually that they're trying to have a routine, trying to do something for themselves, maybe they were taught like me to always be presentable, to always have my makeup on, etc. So I'm so tired of hearing people getting shunned by doctors because a woman goes in dressed nice or has her makeup on. Sometimes the doctors become our entire, all we do all week. So why not get dressed up if the only thing we're ever going to get to wear our clothes to is a doctor? So that's, a huge point I had to make. I want to talk about, I had an incident where cops pulled me over in Georgia because my husband is from Georgia and works in Georgia for the government. And I got pulled over by police for having a tinted tag on my disabled tag. Wasn't doing anything wrong, wasn't speeding, but they pulled me over. And before I knew it, they had me out of my car, asked me to get out of my car, to go stand in the back of the police car. They would never tell me why. And they just kept screaming, do you have anything in your car that a dog will go after? And I was like, oh my God, like, I didn't know the laws at that time because I have a medical marijuana card, and it's just vapor pens and oils. And I thought, oh my God, what do I do? I know it wasn't legal in Georgia, but I know there's congressional laws that keep people from doing stuff to me, but oh my gosh, I'm going to go to jail. I didn't know what to do. But I, being an honest person, was like, I have medical marijuana. I have a card for it. And this officer just started screaming at me, degrading me, asking me where it was. He went in my car. I got it. He was shoving it in my face, going, how many ounces is this? What do you have here? And I was like, what the heck is going on here? I felt like I was about to get shot by this guy. And they would never tell me why I had to get out of my car, why I was being, this going on. And my husband's an ex-cop, ex-SWAT, and he told me they profiled me because I was a single woman in a minivan going back to Florida, coming from Georgia. Doing nothing wrong. But they thought I was transporting drugs. So they decided they were going to harass me that day. And I literally finally was just like, I have nothing in my car. I didn't want a dog in my car, so I said, go, get in my car, do whatever you got to do. You can search it. I don't care. So they searched my car, tore everything apart, found nothing. I mean, they kept asking me, why do you have a left foot gas pedal? Because I'm disabled, and it's on my... What is a left foot gas pedal? We don't even know what that is. What is that? What is a... And it was just like, oh, like I said, there was nonsense. And meanwhile, I'm talking to one police officer the entire time, telling my story about medical marijuana, how it helped the police department, the army, how I advocate for it, how I was once against it. And these other jokers were in my car just tearing it apart. And they went through my phone, they went through my purse, they went through my wallet. They asked me why I had joints written on a card, and it's because it's my joint account, and I'm a blonde, and I have memory issues because I'm disabled. And they just weren't getting it. Finally, when they found my cane in the car, that's when they were like, oh, excuse me, ma'am, do you need this? And I was like, oh, I see how it is. I was like, no, I'm quite fine leaning on your cop car here last 45 minutes. Now you got that I'm disabled? I know because I don't look it. So that is why I'm so passionate, because I have been mistreated so badly by doctors, by pharmacists, by police officers, by anybody who just looks at someone and says, oh, they're on pain medication. They're a junkie. Oh, they're on pain medication. They're crazy. Oh, they're on this. Stay away from them. Like as if we have something we're going to spread to everybody. And I'm sick of it. People need to realize that, not everybody who takes opioids is a junkie. I don't wake up every morning going, give me more, give me more, give me more. I wake up every day going, please God, give me something other than pain pills or anything other than this. And I guess I'm trying not to cry. But I can't stand people that judge, because I judged my grandmother and my uncle once because I didn't understand. Now I understand. My uncle committed suicide at 42 years old. He had previously fell off a scaffolding. He had pain issues all the time. And I don't know that's the cause, but I feel probably that he suffered a long time with pain and couldn't get out of it. And I think that it finally wore its toll on him. But my grandmother suffered. I watched her laying in her bed, waiting for hospice with no medication because they couldn't write the orders in time, whimpering, "Please, Jesse, get me out of pain." And a tiny drop of medical marijuana made her laugh and sit up again, made her sleep. But yet, the doctors were letting my grandmother sit there in pain. And it happens a lot, especially in Florida here, in these facilities for elderly. And that's my future. So, and I have a child who's 21, and he will have children one day. And I have cousins and nephews and whoever else who may have my genetic disorders that we don't know about. So it's very passionate for me that I talk about all of this and I get this out there so that people can potentially understand it and talk about it too. Maybe they have someone in their family that has these things and they don't know what's going on. I recently met a soldier. Right now I'm staying in an area that's a lot of soldiers. And I recently met a soldier who worked at Home Depot, and he was so happy, and you could tell something was off with him. He had a trachea here, and my mom is a nurse, so I know a lot about the medical stuff. And I was like, something's off with him. He's had brain damage from probably the war or something. But he was telling us jokes. But then, we got to talking, and on a serious note, yeah, he mentioned his injuries. And then he started talking about the pain and how he had basically all the symptoms I did. And he's like, but nobody knows what's wrong with him. So I gave him a list of all these diagnoses and said, go look them up. I believe this is going to help you. You have CRPS like me. And he wrote me back a text that I'll never forget about how nobody understands him. And basically it's been so painful for him and the same issues I struggle with. And I felt so bad for him, and I hope that he's getting help. Like I said, I'm doing this because I don't want to just help one person. I want to try to help as many people as I can, not be misdiagnosed or not be left out of their diagnosis. And the more that join our group, the more we can get research money. So that's the way life works, unfortunately. But I've had, like I said, several degrading incidences in my life. Like I said, one was a pharmacy. I sat in a pharmacy, and I was trying to get my medication for Oxycontin. And with Oxycontin, you must be on the medication, and then you must, every 30 days, go back. You have to go to pain management once a month, and you have to go get your prescription. And you must be there on the day for your prescription. If you're not, you'll be out. And then you'll go into withdrawals if you've been taking them as long as I have. So that's a huge scary thought for people like me, because God knows I don't want to be in withdrawals, and I don't have to go through detox and then have to start this process all over again. So I was like, sorry, I was sitting in a pharmacy, and the pharmacist was like, we don't have it. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have my prescription? Well, we just don't have it. There's no stock. And every once in a while, the FDA cracks down, and the feds, and they limit prescription stocks, etc., etc. If you're not in good with your pharmacist, you need to get in good with your pharmacist. Don't be mean to them. Don't get angry at them. Just be nice and cordial, because they hold the key to your medication. So, literally. And I used to date a pharmacist. I know. So, but one thing you really need to do is, you need to explain your situation. If they need to call your doctor, if they don't believe you, whatever. But what they had to do for me is keep my medication in a safe, so that every time I came, there was a prescription there for me. Because what happens, especially in Florida, the snowbirds come down and they take all of our medication. And of course, pharmacists are going to believe someone who's older, in a wheelchair, they're just going to believe them over someone who's a lot younger. And I used to use a walker. I still need some at times. I have some orthotic devices I need. And like I said, I'm supposed to be in a wheelchair. But I worked myself out of it using medical marijuana, and then I started dancing again. I lost weight, and I got my legs strong enough to walk on my own. It's not always the greatest. Sometimes I have to revert back to canes and things like that. But at least I'm walking again. And I thank God for medical marijuana for that. And my entire family does too, because they either think I've lost my mind now, or they think I've gotten better. I'm not getting better with medical marijuana, but I am getting a quality of life back I didn't have, because I recently found the love of my life, and at 43 years old, I got remarried, and I'm in the process of moving, trying to move to Georgia. That's a whole nother story I'm about to talk about. And my life has changed completely because now I am out advocating. I'm out being able to go to restaurants and go to concerts and do some things that I could never do before because I couldn't sit that long and I couldn't walk that far. And I didn't want to be in a wheelchair and I didn't want to burden people because bringing a wheelchair everywhere is a giant burden. Not only that, you have to have somebody physically strong enough to lift your wheelchairs for you. So another issue I deal with is I got married to someone who lives in Georgia and I live in Florida, and he works for the government and he has a job where he's constantly, traveling, doing different things like that. So I travel with them. And I went to move to Georgia, but it's difficult because the problem is I can't full-time commit to being in Georgia because medical marijuana is not legal there. And there are no doctors who can treat me. They refuse to treat me. I can't switch my pain management. I can't, I have been completely humiliated by doctors here in Georgia. I'm currently in Georgia right now, and I have to go back to Florida and drive 8 hours from my doctors and spend a week or 2 weeks there with my, staying with my son. I live in his apartment, and I live there half the year, and then I live part of the year in Georgia, and then other times I'm traveling. Right now I'm constantly on the move because of my advocating and things like that I'm doing. But my main home is Florida. But until I can actually, the laws change in Georgia or doctors start wanting to treat me, etc., I can never permanently be in Georgia. And it's hard on my relationship. It's hard on my marriage. It's expensive to be traveling back and forth. It's exhausting. That's how I got pulled over because I travel back and forth so much. And it just truly puts a burden on my life while I'm sick that is unnecessary. And luckily, I had my car converted years ago to a left foot gas pedal because my right leg's paralyzed and I have drop foot. And I can still drive. There are a lot of people out there who couldn't do this. And I see a lot of people who have to become caretakers for their family to drive them to Florida, to drive them to another state, where we actually are called medical marijuana refugees. And we actually, are stuck in loopholes in the system because of being on medical marijuana and wanting to move. It's a whole thing. I can't really get into all of the details of it, but it causes a lot of legal issues, a lot of signing document issues. It causes just a lot of issues. And luckily, being military, I have the resources, some of the resources here, but a lot of people out there don't. And that's something I'm hoping to do is get resources out there. Maybe Airbnbs or people that will help kind of people stay and for free or low rates for while they're down in Florida or wherever it is they have to go to for their health care. People go to Emory, people go to Mayo, they go to a lot of places looking for answers, and they have to have a place to stay while they're there. And when you're sick and disabled, either you're not getting any income, because a lot of people think when you're disabled that you automatically are going to get a Social Security check or a check for your work. But if you did not work in your life, or you did not work enough in your life, you are not getting a disability check. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people. My father was in construction, and he did not, the accountant wasn't doing certain things with putting money away for him, and now there's no money for him for his disabilities. So I, try to champion for a lot of different things here because I've suffered through them all and I see people suffer through them all. And when you see enough suffering, you want to do something about it if you're any kind of human person whatsoever. But you have, like with disability, it's a hard process to get on, and it is a hard process for a reason. It takes about 2 years for you to get on disability. During that time, you're supposed to live on nothing. And basically, they want you to lose your house, everything you own, to become disabled or to be disabled. Most people don't understand what being disabled means. It means that you are disabled from the careers or the jobs that you were doing. You can no longer live a basically functional life that most people live. But you're still allowed to work a little bit, and you're still allowed to be a human and alive. And most people don't understand that being disabled doesn't mean you are wheelchair bound or anything like that, because it just means that you have a disability that is keeping you from being able to work a 40-hour job a week. So everybody, they say that as a person or a human, you are responsible for 40 hours of work a week. If not, you don't get a Social Security check. So, and you probably need to start working at like 11, 12, 14 when I did, because that's the only way I qualified. And people think that when you get disability checks, you're riding the easy life and got a lot of money. Ha! Try lower the minimum wage. I get about $9,000 a year to live on. That's supposed to pay everything. Imagine that. Obviously, it doesn't pay everything. So that's another reason why I'm championing for this, because money needs to be raised for people like myself and others out there who can't afford these expenses, who can't afford the doctor co-pays or the traveling or the hotels or just even finding help. So whatever it may be. One of the things I also like to talk about is therapy, and I believe in therapy. I believe everybody needs someone to talk to, even if it's just you going there and just talking. And, you just tell them you need someone to talk to if you don't want them to respond, and they will do that. But sometimes it's good to hear other people and their advice. And I believe in also other types of therapy for pain. I believe in smell therapy, like lavenders and eucalyptus or whatever smell makes you, like for me right now, I have this little ball I keep on me. This is my husband's road name because we ride motorcycles. Another thing I have to talk about. And this is my little smell ball. And I keep actually his cologne in here. So when I'm stressed out or I'm in Florida and I'm missing him or wherever I'm at doctor-wise, I just hold on to it and I smell him. And that brings me peace in my heart. But that's something I believe in is, I've tried smell therapies. I use them all the time for lavenders, keep lavender burning around my house and vapor mist and all kinds of stuff like that. Taking hot baths with candles, any kind of therapies like that. Like they make medical marijuana creams and lotions. They work great for arthritis. So some people make teas, some people do a lot of things. One thing that I love is the magical butter machine. That thing, you can make your own gummies. You can make whatever else you need. Which is methods I prefer. My throat right now is raspy because I vaped my medical marijuana and I don't like that, so I try to eat more edibles. But I believe in anything acupuncture. I've tried that. The red light therapy, that works. One of the things I truly love is I have to have a sauna, a dry heat sauna, because of my pain, especially in the winter. Oh my gosh, I cannot stand to be cold. And because of my health conditions, I have Raynaud's. And it makes my hands and feet and other parts of my nose freezing all the time to the point of pain. And you just hurt all over because of it. And then when I start getting cold, it starts triggering my CRPS and my arthritis, and then it just becomes a nightmare. And I just sit and rock in pain, crying most of the day until praying that the next day won't be the same. Sometimes I get 2 or 3 days in a row of just doing that. And those are my really, 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 really dark days where I need to phone a friend. And other days, it'll just be one day and the next day will pass and I'll feel great again, or as great as I can. But there are other things out there besides, like, the smelling. Music. Music is a huge thing to me, especially taking medical marijuana, because things taste better, feel better, sound better. So I use medical marijuana and I blast my pain away with music. I'm probably going deaf from it, but I blast my pain from it. And I just put in all my favorite music and I dance. And my son and I went on a cruise and I was on the side dancing while we were waiting in line for something. But I do that because I can't stand still. And like I said, people think I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. I'm in pain and I'm trying to get out of it. Distraction, distract. That's the biggest thing about pain. You got to find distractions, whether it's smelling something, listening to something, reading something, doing something, advocating for something, helping someone, whatever it is. You have to stay moving and you have to stay distracting your mind, because when you sit and think about the pain, you will go to very, 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 very dark places very fast. So I try to stay active. People are always like, oh, you're disabled. How are you doing this? How are you doing that? Like, I ride a motorcycle now. My husband got me into riding motorcycles because I found that when I was on his motorcycle, the vibration and the wind just took my pain away. And then I loved it so much, I kept saying, honey, I wanted to ride like every day. And he was exhausted and couldn't do it. And he was like, you need to learn how to ride a motorcycle. And I said, okay, if I learn to ride a motorcycle, you have to quit smoking, because I'm a paralyzed female, going to have to take a motorcycle test and hold up a motorcycle and pass this test. How scary is that for me? So he agreed. He quit smoking after I learned how to ride a motorcycle. And that was 2 days, the most stressful thing in my life, taking the motorcycle test. But I did it, and I love riding motorcycles. It is my way to speak to God. I pray, I talk, I think, I listen to great music. I get to travel a little bit here and there. I meet all kinds of people. That's where I meet most of the people that are in pain. And it's been a blessing in ways for me, because I do get to meet all these people, and some of them I get to help. A lot of them I've actually been able to help pretty much everybody that I've met, because they didn't have the answers and they were struggling. So I was able to find them direction, either through doctors or medical marijuana or whatever it was. I know this video is getting long, but I'm trying to wrap it up a little bit. But I believe that you have to find any kind of distraction. And everybody asks me, how can you ride a motorcycle and paralyze your right leg? Well, the shifters at my hands and my left foot, thank God. My right foot, I barely need to use it for the brake, so it doesn't take much pressure. So I'm fine. And I'm going to ride the hell out of this bike. I've got 10,000 miles in less than a year. I have Indian Scout 1100. Woohoo! I love it. Hey, Indian, hit me up, because I want a dark horse. I want to ride across the country for a cause. And my goal is to create motorcycle rides for this, because that'll help raise a lot of awareness, a lot of money for this. But you've got to find distraction. One of my distractions one day, I always wanted a tattoo. And so I got the infinity sign for me and my husband's astrological sign. A good friend of mine forced me to go do it. And now I'm itching. This is why I didn't do it. Now I want like a tattoo here, a tattoo there. You want the flow grown, I want my husband's cop badge, you name it. But I feel greatly empathy for people who are stuck in this rut like I am and was, about trying to get diagnoses and trying to find out what's wrong with them. Chronic regional pain syndrome, ME, allodynia, all these other diseases, CFS. Ehlers-Danlos is the huge cause for me. It's a genetic defect in my collagen that I have, and they're finding out that more and more people have it. My son has inherited it. You can get tested at USF, at Mayo, Emory, a lot of other major hospitals. But it's a family thing, and if you have a lot of family members that have a lot of health problems, you need to look into it, because if it's a history of genetic, early diseases and bone issues and things, all kinds of things like that, then you could have Ehlers-Danlos in your family, which you need to look it up. It's EDS, or Ehlers-Danlos, ELHERS-DANALOS, and that's where you're going to find a lot of information about it. And they used to, when I got diagnosed, only had like 3 types. Now there's like 17 of them. So, and I actually need to go back and get reclassified. But that is the root cause of all my problems. And then it causes rheumatoid arthritis, causes osteoarthritis, degenerative disc disease. It causes all the things, CRPS that I have, everything that I have, it causes. Having to have my gallbladder taken out, hernia surgery. I've had umbilical hernia with mesh put in. I've had a lot of surgeries. I have melanoma on my back. So Ehlers-Danlos is the root cause of all this. And then all the little side things, the CRPS and the RA and all these other random things, that the Raynaud's that I've got, fall under that umbrella. But what put the icing on the cake in my life was the chiropractor damaging my spine. And that's an entire separate issue, because I have musculoskeletal problems, and then I have neurological problems as well. And that combination makes me like this unicorn, which actually makes me a zebra, and a medical zebra, in fact. So most people are like, what is a medical zebra or a human zebra? So humanzebra.org is my website that I've started. It's a foundation I'm starting for raising awareness, talking about this, raising money, connections, all kinds of things like that. We'll be posting a lot of videos on there, a lot of people's stories. But the actual definition of a zebra in the medical world is, a zebra is the American medical slang for arriving at an exotic medical diagnosis when a more commonplace explanation is more likely. Basically, It says, since horses are common in Maryland, while zebras are relatively rare, logically one could confidently guess that an animal making hoofbeats is probably a horse. By 1960, the aphorism was widely known in medical circles. And basically what it is that they don't know what to do with us. We are anomalies. And when they look into our situations, they are supposed to think of it outside the box. But doctors don't. They're not trained to think outside the box. But we literally are supposed to let them know we are a zebra. You need to think outside the box. You need to look outside your testing, outside your research. Use your connections. Because if they don't, you will never get diagnosed. You will just be stuck in these rut holes all the time. You'll be, basically paying a lot of money for doctors and never getting any answers. And so my thing in life is to make sure people know that there are medical zebras out there. And we need your help. We need everybody's help to help find cures for these diseases, help find research for these diseases, funding, and to try to stop these genetic things from happening, because it's a lifelong disease. It's so expensive to be. I used to have perfect credit, perfect everything, and I pretty much lost everything to this. And talk about humiliating. Spend your entire life getting a perfect credit score, and then poof, overnight it's gone. So because you can't pay all of your bills anymore. And I told you before, $9,000 a year doesn't pay much of anything. So luckily I had a house and, and done some investing when I was younger. But if people weren't in my situation, as I saw my uncle, he struggled financially and was always in the system because of it. And it's people like that break my heart the most. I eventually could be there. If something was to happen to my husband, I would be on the street. I would have no way really to pay my bills like anymore. Not the way that, a person should be. So if we don't come together as a society and try to help our zebras and our potential zebras, then we are failing the human race to me. What's the purpose of this life if we are just going to let the rich get richer and the sicker get sicker, and we are never going to try to find a way to make the connection and to stop this? Because there are ways to find cures, but it costs money, and it costs people going out there advocating and telling their stories. I'm going to stop my video for now, and I hope you will come back. Check out my website, Human Zebras, spell the word human and zebras.org, and make donations. They will go to a very great cause, and look for future events and things like that. I'm going to be posting more videos. And I also am a seamstress, so I will start posting videos about sewing and things like that. But for now, I appreciate all of you, and thank you for listening to my story. I ask you please to pass it on, and to the next time that you see someone in chronic pain or in pain management, maybe think differently about them. Because, I once was this beautiful model that everybody wanted to look at, and I had this great life of careers and everything, and then I lost it overnight. And I didn't ask for this. Nobody asked for this. So please stop treating us like we ask for this.